I find myself reminiscing a lot about when we first moved into our home, and that was back in 2021. So we moved in, I think it was August of 2021. And I think about our home and I think about the land that was surrounding our home, and we live on 19 acres. There was an elderly woman who lived in our home and that's who we actually bought the home from. And her husband had sadly been gone for quite a while. And so everything was kind of starting to close in around our house, all of the trees and the overgrowth. But this property had so much potential, and Dave and I really saw the potential in the property, and we could see how we could create this home and cultivate this home and property to really make it what we wanted. And we wanted a cozy home, a place where our family could grow and thrive, and we really wanted to be able to start our farm. And so while we had done previous things in our old home that were we did the meat chickens and we grew a garden, but we wanted this space to be able to really expand and learn and grow. And so it's just exciting to finally see all of those pieces start to come together, where we've added the pigs and we've added the goats and the laying hens, and we have more space for bigger gardens and just all of that. And so we're so excited to share that with you all. This is such a fun time, and we're just really happy that you're here with us. Oh, it's so funny. Where's the other ones at? Are they coming? The pigs have really turned into quite the entertainment for me and the kids, and so we had a ton of apple peels and we took those out and fed them to the pigs, and it was so fun to watch them go after all of those apple peels. And our pigs will be farrowing here shortly, so we're so excited to record that whole process and share that with you guys. And Lola is going to be due at the end of August, and then Rosie at the beginning of September. While we have planted a lot of our own fruit trees and bushes, so we have a strawberry patch, blackberry patch, raspberries, and then we have planted some grapevines, and then we have a few different apple trees. And when we moved in, there was already some peach trees growing. She didn't actually mean to plant the peach trees, but she had thrown out some peach scraps in the back, and so some peach trees had grown from those. And we actually do have some peaches on there, but they just haven't really done great for us since we moved in here. But my brother, his apple trees are actually already producing, where ours aren't producing yet. We'll probably still be a few years until we actually get any apples from them. But he brought me over a huge box of green apples from his apple trees. And I think I didn't use all of them. I left 10 because Jackson was really having fun counting all of them, and so we just turned that into kind of a little counting lesson, which was pretty fun for him. He loved getting them all out. But I think I had between 2 and 3 pounds of apples that I ended up processing. So I ended up making some apple jam or apple preserves. It really, whenever I tasted it at the end, it really tasted like you could either put it on toast or a biscuit, or you could eat it as it was. When I was younger, anytime that my mom would make us oatmeal, she always would add a little bit of applesauce in with it to cool it down. And I think you could probably even use that in with your oatmeal or any other baked goods if you wanted to make some fried apple pies. I think it would be really great for that. So I was just doing the best that I could to actually get those apples put back. I've been trying to can up and try different recipes, which has been a learning experience for me because, like I've said before, I don't have a lot of canning and preservation experience, but it's something that I'm learning just day by day and year by year. I'm trying to learn a little bit more. And so we, like I said, we are growing our own garden and trying to preserve some of that. And so I did put back some jalapenos as well. But this whole process was just the apples, and then later on I did the jalapenos. But we have a local Amish store. It's about 20 or 30 minutes from where we live, and so I'm planning to go up and stock up on a bunch of fresh produce and get to canning, hopefully some tomato sauce and things like that. Our tomatoes are almost there. They're not totally ripe yet, but I hope to just have enough between purchasing some from the local Amish store, or maybe some other farms around here, because we've got lots of produce stands. And then I'm wanting to put up some corn. So I plan to share all of that onto the YouTube channel and walk you all through how I do that. And I'll also be sharing all of the recipes I'm making on our blog, which is www.thebluegrassfamily.com. So if you can't follow the steps through the video, or you would like to print it out, then that'll make it easier for you all to get the instructions and everything that you need. So like I said, I started with between 2 and 3 pounds of apples, and I went ahead and just peeled all of those. I know that there is a KitchenAid attachment. My mom has one that will peel and core your apples for you. I have not purchased it yet. I think it would be a good idea for me to probably get one, because I plan on making some apple butter in the fall, and just a lot, like I said, we have our own fruit trees, so as I get my own fruit and things like that, it will just make this process a lot quicker and easier. These apples were pretty small, so I didn't mind actually just peeling them by hand. I didn't think it was too complicated, but the bigger the apple and the more apples that you're trying to process, I can see having the KitchenAid attachment would make that a little bit easier. So we also have a local apple orchard that's pretty popular, and it's not very far at all from where I live. We typically visit that every fall, and I like to grab some apples from there and bring them back home and process them. So it's always a really fun outing for the family to go and gather apples. And so we're excited for that upcoming trip. And then I always, like I said, always love having some homemade apple butter. And I canned it last year. My mom usually freezes hers, but it's always great to have that, especially in the fall and winter months whenever you're baking and eating a lot of carbs and things like that. So we went ahead and I peeled all of the apples that I was going to use, like I said, between 2 and 3 pounds, and then I sliced them, or I cored them. So I just sliced off the apple. I didn't actually slice the apples down after I cut them off of the core. I don't think that step is necessary, because if you just throw your apples into a big pot with a little bit of water and lemon juice, they're going to cook down. So in order to keep them from turning brown while I was peeling them and cutting them, I got a big bowl, the stainless steel bowl, with some water and lemon juice, and that will help your apples keep from turning brown. Because this whole process, it took me a while, and I actually ended up, I think, leaving for a few hours and coming back, and I peeled them and cut them, but then didn't actually can them until the next day. So I actually let them sit out overnight in the lemon juice water with saran wrap over top, and then ended up processing them the next day. My great grandma used to preserve a lot of her fruits and vegetables, and I wasn't in the kitchen with her a lot. We mainly just went over on Sundays to have Sunday lunch. But I do remember just everyone talking about how amazing she was in the kitchen. And one of the things, and I mean, there's been a lot of other people. I have a sweet neighbor who has grown an amazing garden, a beautiful garden. And she's actually taught me a lot about canning, gardening. She always has wonderful tips, and she shares those with me. And then there's been other women in my life that I have known that have grown gardens. My mom is wonderful in the kitchen. She's great at canning and preserving too. But this is definitely a lifestyle that is something that is important to me to cultivate. So I want to have the lifestyle of canning and preserving my own food for my family. And I know that it is a lot of work, and it can deter people because it does seem like a lot of extra effort. But given all of the additives and preservatives and all of the things that are in our food, I just think that it is something that is so important to learn if you have the time and energy to devote to educating yourself and watching videos and learning how to preserve and can your own food. And so I'm new to this. I've read books and watched videos my own self, but actually getting in the kitchen and just getting my hands busy doing it, I've really tried to just be okay with making mistakes, because I've definitely made mistakes, but I've just had so much fun learning how to can, and every single time I make a batch of something, either it's apple butter or sauerkraut or chow chow relish or what else have I canned? Salsa, homemade salsa. It's just the thrill that you get from doing that yourself is just, you cannot put a price on it. And like I said, with all of the additives and preservatives in our food now, I just think if you can source locally grown, organic, obviously if best, food and then preserve it yourself, you are just doing yourself and your family such a huge favor. So once I sliced and cored the apples, I put them into this pot with a little water and some lemon juice. It doesn't take a lot because as the apples cook down, they release moisture and water themselves. And so I cooked them around medium heat, and then I got them until I cooked them down until they were soft enough that I felt like I could put my immersion blender in with them and easily immersion blend them. And I like that consistency. Some people like a chunkier type of jam or preserves, but I really like the immersion blended consistency of the apples. And so that way we can eat them, like I said, as maybe applesauce or add them into apple pies easily. And so I do really love my KitchenAid immersion blender. It's great. My husband got that for me for Christmas, and I used it with my strawberry jam as well. So if you want to link up to the strawberry jam video, I'll put it up above. But I've used it several times whenever I've been canning this summer, and so it's really came in handy for me. Once my apples were cooked and they were really heated up, and also you add in sugar. So like you add in your water, your lemon juice, and then you add in your sugar. I did 2 to 3 pounds of apples, and it was 4.5 cups of sugar. I used organic cane sugar. And so I felt like that's a really great choice if you're not a big sugar person. You can also opt for less sugar. So if you don't want to put that much sugar in there, you can choose to just do like a cup of sugar if you're on a low sugar diet, etc. But since I was using the organic cane sugar, I didn't mind to use just the normal amount. So once that has cooked down, like I said, it's immersion blended, and you can see that it's kind of sheeting off of the spoon. It does get really hot really quick. You can go ahead and bring it over and start putting it into your hot sterilized jars. And so to sterilize the jam jars, you just put them in the hot water bath and boil them for like 10 minutes, and that sterilizes your canning jars. And you want to do the same thing with your lids. And so you want to sterilize those as well before you even get to this process. But you just funnel them into the little jars and leave a little bit of head space. I think it's like 1/4 inch is recommended, but I know that I'm not great at that. So if it's not perfect, that's what is recommended. But once you have them all into the jars, you've got your apple preserves all in there, then you can put the lids on, screw tops, and then place them into your water bath canner and bring the water up to a boil if it's not already. It should already be up to a boil because you had to sterilize your jars. But put your jars in there and process the jam or preserves for 10 minutes. And then you want to take them out and let them sit, preferably overnight or for 12 hours until they've completely sealed. And then you have some of your own apple preserves, and you will be so happy with it. So this is a really great recipe. Like I said, I know that if you want a more in-depth recipe, you can go to the blog. I'll link it in the description below, which is www.thebluegrassfamily.com. That way you can have a full description of the process to make this. Also, for this specific recipe, I did end up adding some cinnamon and some ground ginger. Typically, whenever I make my homemade apple butter, I'll add in cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and ginger. I add in all kinds of different spices whenever I'm making the homemade apple butter, and it is a little bit of a different process whenever you're making the apple butter, and it takes a little bit longer because once you have cooked down your apples and you add in all of your spices, you then put it into your oven and bake it and just let it kind of all meld together when you're doing apple butter, and then you can go on to can or freeze it. That's the process that my neighbor taught me whenever making apple butter, but my mom actually makes all of her apple butter in the crock pot, and so she'll just peel core her apples and add in the spices and allow everything to cook in the crock pot, and then she'll freeze it in freezer bags. So that's like two different ways that you can do it. We did do a whole video, my mom and I did a whole video a while back on making apple butter in the crock pot, and so I'll try to link that up above so you all can watch it, or you can go back and search through the playlist. It's the Bluegrass Family in Meemaw's Kitchen, and that is the video that should be on that playlist about making your own homemade apple butter if you want to do it in the crock pot. Like I said, some people choose to do it in the crock pot, some people choose to cook down their apples on the stovetop, mix in their spices, and then bake it. So it's really just your own preference. And then of course you can also can apple butter, which is just the same as these apple preserves. You process in the water bath for 10 minutes, or you can freeze it. So one of my favorite things to do though, whenever we have fresh fruit available or someone gives me fresh fruit or vegetables, I love to make jams and jellies. I don't know why. I'm a big baker. I love baking baked goods like cakes, cookies, all of that. I just love it. And so I think the reason I like to do homemade jams and jellies is because they're sweet and fun to do, and I have it on my list this year to actually try to create little Christmas baskets and Christmas gifts for people. So I'm hoping that I can use some of my extras from canning and create little Christmas gift baskets. I know it's just July, Christmas in July, but I'm already kind of thinking ahead for what I can use these for. Also, if your kids are in school, they're great teacher gifts or neighbor gifts. They're just, if someone's sick, they're so simple. But I do think that people really appreciate getting a handmade or homemade jam or jelly. If you have any jalapenos, green peppers, you can also make jams and jellies out of those. So I've made jalapeno jam before, and it was really, really good. If you like spicy things, it's great to put onto cornbread if you're having chili or pinto beans. And so it's kind of funny because it's out of the box to think about making like a homemade jalapeno jam or jelly, but it's really, really good. My family grows, a lot of my family has their own gardens. They have fruit trees, apple trees, they have all kinds of things. So we're not the only family that has a garden or grows our own fruits or vegetables and things like that. So I feel like we are always gifted things, and I try to do different recipes with so we have a wide variety of things, which is really nice. And I have some zucchinis, and so I'm hoping to get on here and make some homemade zucchini bread. If you've never had zucchini bread, it is so good. If you like banana bread, it's similar to that. It's kind of the same similar process, but you just grate the zucchini up into your mixture, and it makes the most moist, delicious bread. It's wonderful with coffee, delicious. And so I always love to add in like some blueberries or some walnuts in with that. So all of that to say is that when you have lots of different fruits and vegetables, you can do lots of different things. And so I really like trying new recipes. I like finding old traditional recipes. Like my brother has a lot of the old recipes from my grandma's cookbook. So that's just really exciting, and I hope to continue to be able to share what we're doing with you all, especially when it comes to canning and preservation. Thank you all so much for sticking around. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you haven't already and you're interested in our videos, please like and subscribe to our channel, and we hope you all have a wonderful day.